The Horace Silver Quintet, with its leader Horace Silver, of course. Uh, and this tune is called Que Pasa. This is from his 1964 album. It's one of my favorite songs. It's titled Song for My Father. This is Leid Stories. I'm Utrice Leid, and it is the eve of the big day. When the president goes to town, he's going to look at Mount Rushmore today and insult and infuriate a bunch of other people. This is what he lives for. He likes the idea of being the center of attention. And if it means that he has to upset an apple cart, that's what he would do. But here's what we need to do. We need to worry less about him, because he is clear to understand now. He's sufficiently transparent in his bizarre behavior, so we're not going to worry about him. We talk about what people are really concerned about and leave him out of the picture, because he's very, very obnoxious. He's just not fit. He's just not fit. And he forces us, by paying attention to him, he would force us into a zone, a psychological zone. You don't want to be there. You don't want to go there. You want to have a peaceful day. You want to have a quiet time to yourself. Okay. But this is Leid Stories, and it is Free Your Mind Friday on Leid Stories, which means the program belongs to you. You get to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. We have no scheduled topics, so you can wax philosophic about anything, practically. And this gives you the opportunity to express your views the way you want to. Of course, I still am going to be keeping track of how we behave ourselves. I've never had a problem on the program. But the idea is to express a thought, to express a view that could not be accommodated in our regular structured programs. Okay. So you call 888-874-4888, and that's how we get things started. 888-874-4888. Marie from Baltimore, you're starting us off today. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for starting off this week on past Monday with the subject of racism. And I'm so happy to hear about what you had to say. And I don't agree with Biden's choice of people to run with him. And I think that's the itch of racism right there. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to be listening through TV at a mosque, 6 in Baltimore, to Farrakhan in the morning, 11 o'clock.
What is he expected to do at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning?
I don't know. I hadn't heard.
He's going to make a statement?
Oh, yes. And it's been advertised in Washington, D.C. on the radios. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I will be wearing black. And that's all I have to say. Look,
but why would you be wearing black tomorrow?
Because I'm celebrating my color. And I want to hear about my color. And I heard it on BBC TV at 12:30, a whole half an hour. So I just have to talk about black, how good it's been, and that the whites came from us. We didn't come from them. You know what I mean? So, listen, you have a very good day. Okay, dear?
And
Take
I
care.
thank you for calling in, and I'm happy that you're the very first caller. So have yourself a restful weekend. Harvey from Berkeley, you're on the air. How you
Well,
doing?
very good. And yourself, wonderful, Utrice. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in.
All right. Well, we're all hanging together. And I'd like to celebrate the 4th of July by supporting one of our oldest and most trusted institutions, the United States Post Office. And the USPS traces its roots back to 1775. That's 245 years ago when Benjamin Franklin was appointed the first Postmaster General. And today it serves and protects Americans from all walks of life, both rich and poor, by offering a variety of services apart from delivering the mail and packages both locally and around the world. One of its more important functions is to provide a safe and secure mailboxes for many of America's poor and homeless citizens. And another service that the USPS offers is inexpensive postal money orders for people who don't have or can't afford a bank account. And one way the post office can generate more income is by raising the services, raising the charges just a little bit. And our representatives in Washington can offer financial support to the USPS, like it did in our to our banking system at the start of the Obama era, when the government bailed out the banks and purchased their toxic assets with a program called the Troubled Assets Relief Program to the tune of $700 billion. And at this time, the Republicans want to get rid of the country's postal service because now more than ever, Americans want to register their vote using mail-in ballots, especially because of social distancing due to the corona pandemic, which especially at public voting stations. And at the same time, while many politicians proclaim that Black Lives Matter, it turns out that the United States Postal Service is a crucial institution for many Americans of African descent. Shutting down the USPS would also cause havoc in communities of lower income who are already suffering disproportionate amounts of illness due to the coronavirus. The loss of income and health care for people and for these people and their families would be devastating at this time of worldwide crisis. And I believe the Democrats should make funding the post office and keeping it solvent one of the major platforms at this crucial time in America's history. It's time to stop the Trump administration's loathsome effort to drag our country down by killing the United States social service. United States Postal Service, when as a nation it's so important to our survival. And I just want to wish you, Utrice, a happy 4th of July, as well as wish everyone in the Progressive Radio Network family a happy 4th of July.
Well, thank you. Personally, I don't celebrate it. I really have never celebrated it. But I understand why people do. And for those who celebrate it because of the particular reasons that you identify, also, I would join Harvey in wishing you a very thoughtful and peaceful and happy 4th of July. Jay from New York, you're on the air.
Hello, Utrice. How are you? How's everything going?
Okay. How's about you?
Very good, very good. Two quick things. Number one, sometimes I wonder why you keep on talking about Donald Trump's mental
Why don't
fitness.
you just stop there? Sometimes I wonder why you keep on talking.
No, because I enjoy you talking. But I just wonder sometimes, why are you constantly talking about this man mental fitness? It's not his mental fitness that's in question. It's the American people mental fitness that's in question. They constantly go along with the madness, and it seems like they're oblivious to the foolishness. It's like, I think they get off on the foolishness. I think they enjoy the foolishness. I think they enjoy the stupidity. And in the process, common people just get caught up in it. And it just continues to fluster and fluster into absolutely madness and abyss. I mean, how could anybody in their right mind vote for this man? I mean, he lies every day, all day. He has no agenda or no plan to deal with any crises. I mean, look at this whole pandemic. It's strictly about blaming others for things that he and his administration should be responsible for taking care of. There's no absolute leadership in regards to how things are going to move forward in the winter in regards to dealing with this pandemic. It's just utter madness. But on the flip side, you get Biden into office, there ain't going to be that much of a difference. The biggest concern that people need to put into context
why are you predicting this? Why do you say anything?
Because he's a card from having dementia himself. Now, this is the thing that I think we as a people should be most concerned about in regards to November. Who is Joe Biden going to select as his VP? Now, everybody is talking about the black woman. People, let's be clear. The person that he most likely will pick that would be suitable to deal with all that's going on the world stage, because it's really about repairing relationships and this when the clown gets out of office, because if he knows he's losing, he's going to basically destroy things and make it even worse. The only black woman that has the experience to deal on the world stage is probably the most evilest and wicked out of all of them, Susan Rice.
Oh my gosh, you're being so harsh today. Who would that be?
Latrice, can I please finish? Susan Rice is evil. She's been involved in more evil around the world than one could ever imagine. Just do the research on her. She was basically the point person in regards to what happened with Gaddafi. All over the place, she got her trinkets in evil. We don't understand it because we're not really in geopolitics. But I say this to you. You get Gerald Horn on your program and ask him about Susan Rice and see what he tell you. He'll tell you how evil she is. Kamala Harris, Val Demings, and the rest of them have no international experience to be able to deal on the level that this country is going to be able and need to deal with because of the economic crises that's coming ahead because of the continuation of this coronavirus. People,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you really believe whoever it is who emerges as the vice presidential candidate, do you think that Biden and his circle would allow anybody, any black woman, to be fully in charge of her portfolio as vice president? It's not going to happen. What they want to do is present a picture of progress. They'll get a little thing here and a little thing there to do, but generally, there's a whole bunch of people who'll be running this country. We talked about that last week. There'll be a whole bunch of people running the country for Biden. And it may not include anybody on his so-called vice presidential list. So you just watch and see. They are not going to be allowed to function fully with the portfolio as vice president. It's not going to happen.
Latrice, let me say this to you. Totally agree with you. But it's the optics and the type of individual that's going to have to be in that position to be the puppet. Now, you got to ask yourself, what happens if 2 years from now, Biden becomes Ronald Reagan, full-fledged dementia, old-timers, certified nut job that he already is? You know, he can't stay the course or anything as it is, if the truth be told. That's why, I think the Democrats should be real thankful for the pandemic in the manner in which it has played out, with people having to be quarantined and in the house and all of that, because it's basically kept Biden from exposing himself to being just as bad or worse than Donald Trump. So that's a good thing in a sense. But believe me, Susan Rice or any other black woman is clearly going to be nothing more than a figurehead. But the point of the matter is, out of all of those women, if put in the position, believe me, Susan Rice will buck way harder than Kamala Harris, Val Demings, and the rest, because they have no leg to stand on. Let me tell you, Susan Rice got legs to stand on, and she know enough dirt to allow her to be more than eye candy and visualization, to be a total puppet. She'll be a puppet, but she ain't gonna be no total puppet like the others ones will, like what you just said. So we'll wait and see. And finally, believe this, as a country, we in trouble. And Farrakhan tomorrow is giving a speech, and it's no telling what type of speech he's going to give. It's probably going to be his usual speech. But the bottom line is, all you do is take little bits and pieces of it and try and move it forward as best as you can. Because we as a nation, you trees, are in trouble. And I say this to you, and I know you're going to laugh when I say it to you. You may be having to start thinking about two things: going back home or moving to Brooklyn.
Okay.
That's just a joke, you trees. Have a good day, sis.
You too. Well, Jay mentioned that, in about 3 years, it's not going to be that long before we see the actual impact of the health challenges that Joe Biden has. And even as we speak, even as they give us the message that they're planning, they're thinking, they're putting things together, trust me, there's a whole shadow government just about ready to take over, and they will surround Biden and they will chaperone Biden, but Biden will not be calling the shots by himself. Not at all. They need him because he is the agent through which a lot of other things could be accomplished, principally defeating Donald Trump. But this whole thing about I need a black woman and all of that is just silliness. It is silliness. The truth is, there is already in place, I strongly believe, a government. They're putting it together and they're polishing it up right now to see who is best at what. But they will be running the government, not Joe Biden. Joe Biden will be the face of it all. Duke from New Jersey, how are you?
How you doing?
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here because I'm going to talk real fast. I don't want to take up a lot of time, and I want to make as many points as I can. First,
okay,
what Jay just said about Susan Wright, he's 100% correct. Except, Jay, let me tell you one thing. Right now, black people got no choice. No matter who Biden selects, we have to get Trump out of that space. And not even so much Trump, but we got to get the Republicans on their heels. So we have no choice. And that's just the unfortunate thing. And that goes back to what your show on Tuesday, Utrice, you was talking about the two-party system, and I love that show because when you stated your case, and then people started calling in, you had all the callers that I love to listen to all the time. Leona from Michigan, she's so intelligent. I mean, I just love listening to the people, but we have no choice. Okay, the next thing, Utrice, can you tell me? I was watching the news yesterday, and they was talking about the jobs report for June. That 5 million new jobs was created. And Utrice, am I in a dreamland? Where are these 5 million new jobs coming from? No,
Well,
wait a minute,
you'll find something very curious, and I'm glad you raised it, because in the middle of all of this craziness, you'd find that those agencies that the president has absolute control over, he and his administration, they will start producing very encouraging reports. It is meant to be part of the appeal, part of the propaganda for his reelection. So even now, when people on the other side are talking about the 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 magnitude of the coronavirus, and there's criticism that Donald Trump is on leave of absence because he has not been on top of this major catastrophe affecting the country. This is meant to take the edge off of that, so that you'll get reports about gradually showing the economy bouncing back. Jobs, more jobs. You notice they didn't say what kind of jobs.
Okay,
How much
wait, Utrice. This is the second month in a row. May's job report, I think, was also showed new jobs being added. But, okay, I understand what you just said, but are you telling me that they're just making this up? Or are these people... I mean, I don't understand.
The idea is to just keep it in mind, because you notice a lot of these things you have to study to find what is the trend. The trend will be, because Trump is in very deep trouble in almost all of his sectors.
Right.
He's in trouble.
Right.
Even the seniors are upset with him. Everybody's upset with Trump except the diehard, flag-waving people. So he's in trouble. They need to get something that looks semi-independent in nature, and that is, the job forecast coming out of the Department of Labor.
Okay, so you're telling me you don't.
As such.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me you don't think 5 million jobs were added in the month of June? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know whether 5 million jobs were added. I'm saying, note the announcement. Of course, they'll be giving month-by-month announcements. Note the fact that it scores for Trump a hopeful note.
Of course, I recognize that, but I just want to deal with...
That is propaganda.
I understand, but if the propaganda is true, it doesn't matter if it's propaganda. If 5 million new jobs were added to the economy, and if that is true, it doesn't matter if it's propaganda. I just want to know where are these jobs, because they're not in New York State.
And that's the whole point. This is his administration making an announcement about progress. Despite all the catastrophe, they are reporting, his administration, his Department of Labor is reporting that the jobs picture is looking not too bad, not too shabby.
Okay, I got that. Let me move on real quick because I don't want to take up no more time. The next thing was Black Lives Matter. I hate to bring this up, Utrice, but somebody got to say this. And, I never really liked that term, Black Lives Matter. I'm a black man, grew up on the East Coast, in the hood. But I have friends from all over the place, okay? But I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he pointed me to this article. And this article is saying 14 people, including 5 children, were killed as more than 100 people were shot in a wave of gunfire in Chicago over Father's Day weekend. Now, Chicago is the headquarters of the Nation of Islam. Am I correct? Or
Yes.
okay. Now, I understand the people protesting the police brutality, and in particularly the white police brutality on black men. I understand it. But why are we not talking about Chicago and what's going on in our own inner cities? I don't want to hear about police brutality no more. I don't care about that issue. I'm going to be honest. This is Duke in Jersey. I'm telling you, I don't care any longer about white cops killing black men when we are killing each other like dominoes. And that's all I got to say. Thank you, Utrice.
Well,
oh, and in terms of your show on Tuesday, the two-party system, me, I'm like you, I don't vote. And luckily, because I'm in the Northeast, these are not battleground states. But if we don't have true democracy, meaning that the people vote on every issue, I'm talking about who is the dog catcher in your community, the people vote for that person. If we can send somebody to the moon, we can set up a structure where people can vote from their smartphones or wherever on every single issue. The fact that we send some kind of representative to Washington, D.C., who doesn't represent us at all, it's ridiculous. The whole system is broken. If I cannot vote directly on every issue, I'm not part of this society at all. Thank you, Utrice.
Well, thank you for your impassioned presentation today. Thank you so much. Leona from Michigan, you have a fan club here.
Yeah, isn't that something? Hi, Utrice.
How you doing?
I'm still learning. Listen, two things. One, I wanted to, I'm looking at Gerald Horne's book, The Counter-Revolution of 1776, Slave Resistance and the Origins of the United States of America. Okay, I have pulled that off the shelf, and I plan on opening that this weekend and reading.
It's a heavy read, I could tell you.
Okay. The other thing you might want
to check the archives, because we did substantive interviews with him on the book.
Yes, I know. That's how I learned about the book, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now, the other thing, I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, but I got to give you a little background first. Now, I'm wondering, how is it? Well, I want to know how you do it. What is your secret, actually? Meaning, one day this week there was a caller into the show, and they had a viewpoint that was directly opposite of mine, and I found myself getting a little unnerved by that point of view. But I was listening to the show, and I watched how you handled that particular caller's contribution without getting upset. You didn't. I've never heard your name call anybody or anything for having an opposing view, which is something I may or may not do on occasion. I don't try not to do it as much, but I'm wondering what the secret is. What is the method? What is the procedure? What is the process of interacting with a person who may hold a point of view and a set of facts that are totally opposite of the ones I have or you have? Interacting with a person.
Like those calls.
I'm sorry, what?
I especially like those calls where people have a completely different view from mine. The thing is to keep in mind that people see the world through their own experiences. And we have no idea what shaped their experiences in the moment that we come together to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to throw out right from the start any judgment about, well, they're not being logical or they're not smart or not. Throw all of that out. Don't even bring it into the conversation, but listen as hard as you can to what they're telling you about what shaped their view. And it is, to me, it is as legitimate. You don't have to agree at all, but that process is as legitimate as your own.
Mm-hmm.
You may have an advantage, or you may think you have an advantage because, uh, you've read a little bit, or you've talked to people at a particular level who have informed your views,
Mm-hmm.
or you have just taken time to further examine issues and so forth, which allowed you to come to a more insightful conclusion about things. But that doesn't make you right either.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes you exposed to more dimensions to a problem than perhaps somebody else. But you have to listen. Listening is a big, big thing. People would never learn how important it is simply to listen.
Okay.
And when you listen hard enough, you get a bigger picture than even the person speaking with you. You get a very, very big picture. And if you come to the process with an open mind, I can't say that I'm right and you're wrong. It's just that we see the world differently. And why do we see the world differently? Because by the time we make contact at this level, we have spent years being groomed, being misled, being lied to, being persuaded. We have all gone through that process. So some of us, by the time we engage in a conversation, are farther along a line of development than others. But we shouldn't assume that. We
Right.
shouldn't assume that at all. The most important tool, I think, is listening. Listen very hard to what people are saying to you. Because chances are they're talking on 3 or 4 levels. Whereas as advanced as we think we are, we're talking only on one.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this, if you don't mind. I don't take a
Not at all.
this listening. How do you know you're doing that? I've seen advertisements for courses on the art of listening, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what's the secret to listening? Is that? I imagine that's a skill too. I reckon.
Yes, it is. In a way, it is a very important skill to have. And I learned it early because I was raised in a big family and we couldn't talk. We had to listen. My father actually held these torture sessions that he called constitutional talks. Had nothing to do with the Constitution at all. It was just him basically haranguing us, talking to us so that we don't end up as useless characters. But
God bless him. Go ahead.
you have to listen. Listening is the big thing. And it's hard for us to listen because we automatically feel there's something we know that we have to share, and we can't wait to do it and dominate the conversation. Oh, let people do their thing. But if you listen hard enough, you'll get perhaps even just a kernel of the undisputed purity and truth of their thoughts.
Wow.
And that is worth, to me, that's a big thing. That's a big thing of listening really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason we have conversations is that one or the other person would think they have something to tell you, they have something to teach you. And that is one huge assumption. Most people who take that attitude have nothing to teach you, but they're just talking because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel superior. But what they're saying is of little, if any, value. But you listen just the same.
Okay. Wow.
That is
Well.
that is the biggest secret in having conversations. You listen very hard because the person is speaking to you literally in tongues at several different levels. They're telling you about themselves without consciously doing so. They're telling you things. And therefore, what they have to say is tinged with all kinds of stuff, a search for self, a sense of belonging, a sense of, intelligence and accomplishment. And they tell you all kinds of things that are not part of the conversation, but they're telling you anyway, if you listen hard enough, so that by the end of a conversation, you have a pretty good working profile of what that person is about. It has nothing to do with the conversation.
Ooh.
See? So that's what I try to do. You listen really hard because many people are talking, but they're not conscious of what they're saying, or they have no basis for what they're saying, but they feel the need to tell you anyway, and you need to tell you how smart they are. But when you get down, it will take some time. When you really get down to a conversation, you see the big holes in there.
Mm-hmm. Woo. Okie dokie. I'm sorry.
I hope you're glad.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Was there more? I'm sorry. Am I listening? Okay.
Listening is a big thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You could do a whole week on it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you listen to people? And do people actually listen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a conversation is all about, it's a self-defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing with really sharing meaningful information with you. It has to do with people trying to impress you.
Mm-hmm.
They're not succeeding, but they don't know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
we're all affected by these things. We're
Mm-hmm.
all affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, when I was teaching my journalism class, this was a big thing. This was part of the syllabus. Listening.
Mm-hmm.
Reporters would go and attend a news conference, and they come back and they parrot just about everything that was said. That's because they're not listening. The story is in what you missed because you didn't hear it. But when you learn to listen, or you train yourself to listen, nothing bothers you because you relating to that person on a whole different level. It doesn't bother you if they say things that offend, because in the end, it just is part of the narrative of how this person grew up. What is this person afraid of? What is this person trying to convince him or herself about him or herself? That takes up most of the conversation right there. because you're listening. It's hard work, but
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
important to do. Because invariably, what a person would report as the story, for example, just adding on to it, it's the literal thing that happened. It doesn't involve interpretation. It doesn't involve a deeper sense of what is happening here. What is the news? What is this person trying to get at? What is being omitted? What is the significance of what is said? This is where you really are involved in listening. And I bet you 99 times out of 100, your story will be completely different from everybody else's because you're listening.
Wow.
See, I listen for what is not said. Most people listen for what is said. That's not news. I listen for what is not said. And once you get good at it, nobody could intimidate you. You can't be fooled. You can't be misled. Because I see the effort you have put into not being understood as a deliberate thing. See? That's a deliberate thing. To dodge. We play these games all the time. So I hope that kind of answers or gets close to an answer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you taking the time to break it down. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Leona.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Gemba from Florida, you're on the air.
He hung up.
Okay. Willie from Brooklyn, you're on the air.
Hello, beloved. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, Willie.
I love that sister. The one that just, Sister
I
Leona.
know you told me this.
I love that sister. and Sister Patricia. You know, last week, Friday, I was, just like you were saying, listening, you have to learn how to listen. Well, most of us, I think, we listen to respond, not to understand. And, I was listening to it last week, that last Saturday, last Friday, and I said, my God, in my mind. Now, black people will kill you because there was a caller that came on, and I'm listening to this, and then
Why
said,
would
my
you
poor.
say black people will kill you? Nobody else will kill you?
well, no. Well, well, yes, but just the way we behave or madness, I think, because whenever you do a program, you have to pay a brass monkey not to understand what you're saying. From my point of view, and from me, from those years of listening to you, I have learned so much. So, and you were trying to teach. You're always teaching us something. Always, every program you do is teaching us something. And and the response you get back. I'm saying, my God, they try to we try to kill you. Some of us, not all of us.
You can't do that. I grew up being toughened by my father's famous constitutional talks. So I don't bruise easily.
Okay. Well, that is something I know because my sister, I'm afraid of calling you. I'm going to tell you straight up because.
Why do you have to be afraid?
Here's why. Because whenever we speak with you, and many of my friends, because they listen to you too. You you are the only one I know. Muhammad Ali was one of the greatest boxers, and in my judgment, and Foreman and Tyson, and knocking people out. And you make them combine look silly, knocking people out, because you have a way of knocking people out, and they don't even know they're knocked out. Muhammad Ali couldn't do that. Foreman couldn't do that. Tyson couldn't do that. That's why I'm afraid of falling you. And many others too. Many of my friends.
Afraid of calling?
Yeah, because we don't want to be knocked out. Because we have to be right on point.
Yeah, but I don't make it a habit of knocking people out. We're having a conversation, and everybody
I know that, my
capable
sister.
of having a conversation.
But when you put them straight, they're still missing the point. You understand what I'm saying? And you do it very respectfully and kindly. But anyway,
it's because they're not listening to me. I'm thinking they're listening and keeping pace with what it is that's going on between us. That they understand it and they're keeping pace as we go.
Remember, you said again that listening is a skill. Remember that you said that most people cannot listen. See, I spent a lot of time listening. All my life, I've been listening. That's why I don't have a television. I just listen. Anyway, I just want to say welcome back, Jose, and Lincoln, and I missed.
Oh yes, Lincoln called yesterday.
Yes, I missed them. Welcome back, and Desiree, and Jose. Listen, there we go again. Listen, Jay mentioned the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking tomorrow. Well, I can't wait to hear what he has to say, because when he speaks, there is a big fight about him. He was supposed to be on Fox Saturday, but there was a big fight to cancel that program. But for those who would like to listen, just go to the Nation of Islam website and he'll be see. I don't know what time. I don't know what he's going to say, but I think it's something that we must hear. This is what I think, because here's a brother that it's irrelevant what they're saying about him. But remember, in 1995, there were 2 million brothers in Washington. I am one of them, standing on top of each other's shoulders, and there was not one incident of violence. And that brother, according to the media, to some of the media, is a violent, he's racist, he's whatever you want to say. He's all of that. So people should listen to what in my judgment, should listen to what he's saying to make a judgment for themselves, not to let somebody tell you what to listen, who and what to listen to. And that's why we have PRN. I'm blessed.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
You have a beautiful weekend.
Good to hear from you too today.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, but we're closing in on time.
I just want to say I love your shadow.
Oh my God. Thank you. I know what you mean. Thank you very much. All right, so let's talk to Jay from Georgia. You're on the air.
Hung up.
Jay?
He hung up.
Oh, okay. So he's gone. Well, we were getting close to the end of our program anyway. I'm very, very glad to hear from you. And as you speak from your heart, that's very important. That is a very important element in communication. You don't have to apologize for what you say. You don't have to make up for what you said or didn't say. It just is. And people will just have to deal with it. It's very important. I just want to say this one thing about my father's talks. And as old as I am now, I frequently recall what he was trying to tell us, what he was trying to teach us. All his kids would line up, and we would have to account for ourselves. And then came the big portion of the lecture called Lessons in Life. And it was about how do you prepare yourself for life? Not just a gathering of certificates and degrees and all this other kind of stuff, but as a person, do you develop as fully as you can as a person so that you can be of great use to the rest of the world? Because you might be needed. Everybody is needed in one way or the other. But you should prepare yourself to be needed so that you could be very effective in changing the world. He was a simple guy, very, very simple man. Nothing pretentious, no big time degrees and anything like that. But he was one of the most brilliant men I knew. And still, that is the case. What he tried to tell us, what he tried to show us about how you live, how you develop as a person, that is important. Very, very important. Because in the end, that's your treasure. And you are free to share it with everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and have yourselves a very contemplative weekend, and just be happy. Try to be as happy as you can in the midst of all this craziness that's going on. And look to the people around you and be grateful for what they offer you. And hopefully to them, you offer the same. So we'll see each other on Monday.